Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Dealing with Mikadono Sisters is a Breeze, Season 1, Episode 10. Another great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, in traditional fashion, Yu is sending off the Mikadono sisters. Obviously, it's just Kazuki and Nico because Miwa already left early. But even they're kind of recognizing like, wow, that break we took actually was refreshing last week. Like going to the theme park, I feel refreshed and recharged. So both of them are recognizing the benefits of taking breaks every once in a while, not just like pushing themselves relentlessly. And he tells them like he's going to see them later, and they're like, okay, see you later. And they both look at each other because they said it at the same time and bounce. But it turns out Miwa left like the special lunch that you had made for her, and wanting to kind of, it's like, right, I gotta give this to her. She's gonna need all the energy she can. So he ends up tracking down where her matches are. It's his first time actually going there, and he ends up running into the character we got slightly introduced to last episode on a smaller scale, Sakura. Now we get a proper introduction to her, which is interesting. She's very clumsy. She's so focused on reading what she's reading, she runs into like a light pole. Then she was about to run into like some traffic signs, and Yu was able to kind of go, like, I guess by being there, he's able to make her see from her peripheral, like, oh, here's a person, let me avoid them, versus like objects. She kind of, I guess, almost has like, because she's so clumsy, she has no like object permanence, but maybe only when it comes to people. But then Yu sees that she's sweating like crazy, so he gives her like a specific plum to help, like, revitalize her energy from it. And then Sakura's takeaway is, wow, he has one of those on him, like me too. He just carries one of those around. I thought I was the only one who did that. So he goes to watch Miwa's match, and it turns out it's a decently challenging match because it seems like, and we find this out, that Miwa's kind of been on a little bit of a slump, like she's winning and she hasn't lost any matches, but it's not like the swift, not flawless, but the swift victory she's normally be having. And we also find out one of Miwa's tics is her licking her lips. When she does a lick, that means she's like, oh, I've got it planned out. I know exactly how I'm going to beat this person. And she luckily comes through and wins. But you could tell, like, for part of the match, she was getting frustrated because it wasn't just snapping into place. And then Yu comes over and hands her lunch, which she was happy about. First and foremost, like, she was like, because he's almost like, oh my God, Miwa, you were so cool. In fact, I wish I had like videotaped her or took a picture so I could eternally look at how cool you are. She's like, I don't want you to see me like while I'm playing matches. I'm sure she never it probably was never an option early on, but with everything going on recently, she's probably never, this might be the opportunity to start like bringing her like sisters to watch her matches directly, because I'm curious, did they ever watch her matches previously, or was it just always a foregone conclusion she would win, so they never did? But let's not forget, like, both Miwa and Kazuki showed up for the match against Nico's senpai, like not last episode, but episode 8, they showed up for it. So it isn't, shouldn't be too surprising. But I think that might have been one of the few times they've ever done it, because I'm curious, have the others ever been to one of Kazuki's performances or not? But either way, Miwa finding out like, oh, you brought my lunch, thank you, and even kind of kind of like crossing her toes a little bit, being like, if you want to, you could like stay here and eat it with me. And he's like, cool, I'll go to a nearby spot, get something so we could eat together. And then Sakura comes up and snatches the lunch away, because in her mind it's like, oh, this is the reason why you've been distracted lately. It's because of these meals prepared by this boy. And she's deciding like, okay, I'm going to sit down with you guys and eat, because she's like, I am your eternal rival, and because of that, I need to study everything there is about you, so I'm going to stick to you like glue. But it's a one-way street. Miwa doesn't view her that way, because it's like, dude, I've beaten you like 100 times. That's including practices as well. You've never beaten me once. And because Yu is like gassing her up by being like, oh my God, you're Miwa's rival, right? That's so awesome. It's like, you think so? It's like, yeah, that's got to be so cool. Like, forever locked, in combat with one another. That's amazing. And Sakura's happy about that until, like, Miwa kind of slaps reality into the situation by being like, she's never beat me once. But them all together, also, like, she's like, oh, here's my lunch. And it's just rice balls, and there's some other stuff too that you're like, what is that? It's like, I forgot what they said it actually was, but it didn't look as appetizing. As she nearly drops her rice ball, she chases after it, trips. You tries to help her, trips on top of her, grabs her rice ball, but also grabs her. And me was like, why are you two in a very rom-com cliche situation? But it's in that moment they not all three of them recognize, like, you realizes it, Sakura realizes it, and Miwa, that, oh my god, Sakura and you are actually a lot alike, interestingly enough. And that kind of could tell, like, bothers Miwa a little bit. It's just kind of like, all right, get away. It's like, oh, why you got this dumb smile on your face? But for him, he knows how Miwa is at school. Like, she keeps to herself. She has a hard time really communicating with people because she feels like so outsider-ish to everyone else. Like, at least, like, Nico and Kazuki seem to be, like, a lot more, I don't want to use the word personable. Like, they present themselves in a way and they're a lot more friendly to people and they communicate with people. Whereas, like, Miwa, I don't think that comes easy. So that means really, like, outside of her sisters, like, and Yu's like the only person outside of her sisters and, you know, anyone during her matches. But it doesn't seem like she has the relationship she has with Sakura, because Sakura is kind of like the annoying, like, friend. But it's like, no, you're not a friend. You're not even a rival. But Yu looks at it as like you have someone in your life that's that you had this little back and forth with, because you don't interact with anyone like this. So it makes their dynamic something that much more special, you know? And for you, it's like, oh, getting to see a cute side of you like this is kind of nice. And me was like, oh, so that's what you're smiling about. Like, because at first she was being a little upset because she's like, wait, are you smiling about Sakura? I was like, oh, it's about me. Okay, cool. I can accept that type of thing. It's really adorable. But with the title matches coming up about, like, trying to take the title from Miwa, because, like, she's like, Miwa, this has been your era. Miwa's like, it's not been my era. She's like, it totally is your era because you've been winning nonstop and no one's been able to stop you. But she's like, I'm the one that's going to bring your era to an end. It's going to be my opportunity. And so we get a little backstory into Sakura. Sakura is, and you have a lot of parallels where, like, she's not a prodigy and she's not gifted, but because of that, like, no one's ever taken her seriously. She's trained, she's studied and researched as much as possible to make up for that. Because, like, Miwa is just naturally born gifted, and so Sakura tries to bridge that gap. Once again, no one except for Sakura views her as and Miwa as rivals. And I wonder what made her take that upon herself. But I guess it's like maybe she's just seen how. Maybe it's just pure inspiration of, you are the tippity top. You are someone that is kind of wrecked, like this, like the female side of things, and that you're climbing the leader, like you're climbing the ladder so quickly that it won't be long before you break into the male shogi league as well. And it's like, you are this inspiration. You're the pinnacle. Like, this is someone so talented and gifted, and I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. I want to rise up, and this person is my motivation, and I want to push them. That's why I want to find out what's slowing you down. What's this very, like, slump that you're in? Because I can't remember if the dialogue thing, well, we kind of found out about everyone's things. Kazuki's upcoming performance that she was worried about. Miwa, like, being, Nico being like, oh, like, Sensei, like, if you're going to be nearby, I'm ready to, like, fight in front of you. And then, like, whatever Miwa was dealing with, which we still haven't gotten to in this episode. So I'm curious. I'm trying to remember whether that was all before the dad came back into the show, showed up again, and, you know, checked in with them, or was that the same episode? I can't remember which episode that was. It might have just been the same episode, because I'm wondering if that's what's really kind of been bothered. Because, like, it seemed like whatever this was already a issue. I guess, like, she had already been in her slump for a while for Sakura to notice, and then now, like I said, I just can't remember the context of that episode, which episode that was that came out. Like I said, it might have been the same episode their dad showed up, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Because so that's the reason why I'm bringing that up, is because I've kind of put it in perspective of how long she might have been in this slump and whether or not her dad popping up is part of that. Because maybe she just feels like she's falling behind because she's supposed to be this top class prodigy. There's so much pressure put on her to be the one that breaks through into the male league. So I'm sure all that's adding this extra pressure of, like, you need to be this, you need to be that. And she's like, for every mistake that she's making, every time she's not swiftly winning a battle, she's probably doubting herself, and that's just probably making her lose a step or two. Once again, it's probably like their dad whispering in her ears about something that really, like, has stuck with her, just like Nico, just like Kazuki, you know? the expectations that others put on them, especially their dad, has kind of, been this anchor around their feet for a while. And Kazuki and Nico, at least for now, that chain that anchor will always end up attaching itself until like the situation with their dad remedies itself to a better extent. They seem at least a little freer than Miwa. Miwa still seems to be, drowning a little bit. Either way, you and Nico and Kazuki all wake up early because you was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to this shrine that's supposed to be good luck for shogi players, and then like Nico's like, oh, I'm going to take a jog in a place that happens to be nearby. Oh, Kazuki's like, I got my next role as a diviner, but it's like, you both were like planning on going to like wish your sister good luck too. You all were against all that previously, but now you're like more okay with it because they've loosened up a little bit because of Yu's influence. They go over there and lo and behold, who they run into? Sakura, who's put up all these things about, I'm going to win, beat Miwa. She put up like a whole bunch of things at the shrine for it. But then like it's like, oh, how do you know the Mikadono sisters? He's like, well, they've taken me in and I support them. And it ends up being this interesting conversation where Sakura actually gets pissed, where she's like, you're not gifted, that's fine, but don't like live in the shadows of those who are. It's like, the fact is, I'm sure like you make meals for them, I'm sure you clean for them and do laundry, and even Nico and Kazuki are like, well, he does. And it's like, for her, it's like, you won't even stand up. You won't even try. It's from her perspective. Because I'm sure she's always been told by people, you can't get close to Miwa. You'll never be good enough. Like, you can't beat talent. Hard work can only get you far. So far, once again, there's been plenty of animes that have covered it. Once again, the proof of that is, the classic, like, Naruto versus Neji. Hard work versus genius, and so for her, it's like, you're not even trying. You're playing this supporter role. You're not trying to stand by them. You're staying in their shadows, helping them. And for you, it's like, what's so wrong with doing stuff like I like to do and I'm good at? And but it's like, I get her perspective on it. I also get Yu's perspective on it, and I think there's a middle ground that maybe you can take from this situation and grow as well, where it's like, you don't have to be stuck. But it's like, I think he doesn't even recognize how much he's changing and how much he's growing as well. Like, being their supporter has helped them. Like, it has been a two-way street. It hasn't been the one-way street he's only viewed it as, And like I said, I think I get from Sakura's perspective, where it's like, she's always been in the shadows of those that are considered geniuses, and it's just like, oh, like you can't bridge that gap, and she wants to prove that she can. So she's a little disappointed in you, and then she goes and trips, and then you goes and trips on top of her, and then like Kazuki and Nico's takeaway is going to the shrine, praying hard as hell, like fiery energy is burning off of them. Miwa, you have to beat her. You can never lose to her. And Yu's only takeaway is, man, I guess we are a lot more alike than we're willing to admit. And Sakura's just like, okay, I'll definitely win this. And then when it comes time for the match, Yu is watching, and Nico and Kazuki are like, man, we don't need to watch. It's a foregone conclusion. And they're still watching later on, and he drags him. He's like, come on, if you're going to watch, just watch. They're like, we're not worried at all. But ultimately, sadly, Miwa ends up losing the match. It's not a 1-1 match. It's isn't it out of 3 matches? Or is it like out of 5 or something? You have to win like 3 out of 5 matches. Or it might have been like 2 out of 3, whatever the case may be. It's not just like a 1 match thing. And she lost this, but she has other opportunities. And so Kazuki and Nico are trying to be like, just act normal, everything's fine. And Yu's like, oh my God, they're so cool, calm, and collected. They go in their rooms and they start throwing tantrums. He's like, well, they're a lot more bothered than they let on. So he wants to pretend like everything's okay, but he does this very lavish and over-the-top meal for her with things in the shape of kittens. And Miwa's like, oh no, I'm good. I'm not hungry. I'm rather focused on, preparing for the next strategy. But even Yu's like, every time you're done with a match, you always want to eat. And it's just like, she's very, like, it kind of shows like how much she's beating herself up about it. So when she finally comes out to go get a snack late at night, Yu left like a drink and a protein drink there for her. In fact, he was sleeping outside being like, oh, I wanted to be here when I prepared your midnight snack for you, the final touches to it. It's actually really sweet. it's like, I don't know if it was like fruit, but there's some stuff on the outside, and then there's a chocolate ball. He pours hot chocolate on it and melts it, and there's like ice cream cake in the form of like a well, I think it might have been cake, but I think it was just like, might have been like vanilla ice cream or something, like in the shape of a cat. And it's this really cute thing, that she's just kind of like, well, you didn't have to do that, but it's also like, very appreciative. So it was kind of nice. So hopefully this kind of helps Miwa in the long run. We'll have to wait to see what the actual thing is that's kind of bothering her, but I think this might have been a step in the right direction for her. So we'll see how things fare out in the next episode. I'd assume the next episode will be the conclusion of everything, just because that's how things kind of played out with Nico's situation playing out over 2 episodes. So what I Googled, and this could be wrong, it seems like it's only supposed to be 12 episodes. So this storyline might actually stretch into episode 12, not unless it concludes in episode 11, and then 12 ends up being some other closing culmination thing. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see how episode 11 plays out to kind of give us a better idea about the season finale. But either way, like I said, I'm excited to see where the storyline takes us and how it continues, and Miwa's circumstances, getting a better understanding of kind of what's on her mind and what's in her head right now. That's kind of distracting her. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.